No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of the final 3-hour edition of Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. We'll have to wait and see what happens in 2025 when Raw moves to Netflix. Will it go back to 3 hours then? Who knows? But for now, this was the end of an era. Final 3-hour episode of Raw. And what a way to go out. We'll talk about the main event, the Battle of the Monsters, last monster standing. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. Let's get started with this Raw recap. We had the new Intercontinental Champion Jey Uso come out. He was introduced by Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore. They were in the ring to introduce the show. We saw the footage of Jey winning the title from Braun Breaker. Jey came out through the concession stand area. He had his son with him, which was a very cool moment. He came down into the ring, had the pyro, and then he cut his promo. The crowd was chanting, "You deserve it." He said he will fight every week. He talked about it being a long road, and his family, Roman Reigns, made it difficult for him. But he had his supporters. He had his biggest supporter, his mother. And then Braun Breaker showed up. Braun Breaker came into the ring. He said he was not there to crash the party. He was not there to attack Jey. He said that he has respect for the Intercontinental title, and he admitted that Jey was the better man last week on Raw. He offered a handshake. Jey was a little hesitant, but ultimately shook hands with Braun Breaker. And then Braun Breaker took his leave. And that was the end of the segment. Very much felt like a babyface turn for Braun Breaker. Jey's promo was fine. There was some hesitation with him. It seemed like either he forgot his lines or maybe he was a bit choked up. But there was a lot of pausing between sentences when he was talking. I'm not sure what that was about. Maybe he was just soaking in the moment. But it wasn't his best promo work. Braun Breaker came out there, and it looks like they're going in a different direction with Braun. They're going to turn him babyface. There was another segment with Braun, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Definitely seems like Braun is going in a different direction now. I did want to note that the IC title has a little bit of a tweak. There's some blue colors in the globe on the IC title. And I definitely think it's an improvement. Gives the title a little more life to it, I think. The blue globes. I dig it. I definitely think that it's an improvement over what they had before. Even just a slight change can make all the difference. We had footage of Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio arriving in Dominik's lowrider, and Finn Balor called him up, said he was having travel issues, but he said that business has been taken care of. More on the Judgment Day in just a few moments. We had Rey Mysterio versus Xavier Woods in our first match of the evening. This was a pretty standard TV match. Rey had the early momentum. He did some flashy moves, very impressive for his age. Springboard moonsault to the outside, and then he got Woods back in the ring. Went for the 619, but Woods was able to avoid it. And then Woods pulled off the mask of Rey Mysterio, took advantage of it, rolled him up. Rey was covering his face, even though we all know what he looks like unmasked. Xavier Woods, with a cheap tactic to defeat Rey Mysterio. Match wasn't anything special, but the angle I'm very much interested in. They're finally doing something with the New Day these last several weeks. And backstage, Kofi Kingston confronted Xavier, wanted to know if it was done on purpose. And of course, Xavier denied it. He said he respects Rey Mysterio. And then Kofi revealed that Jey Uso had offered him an IC title match for next week, but Kofi handed it over to Xavier as a token of friendship to his longtime friend. Xavier was so happy about this, so touched that Kofi Kingston would do this. More on New Day in just a little bit. And they did confirm next week that Xavier will challenge Jey Uso for the championship. And by the way, I did want to note, Karrion Kross was lurking in the background. More on Karrion Kross in just a little bit. We had another Viking Raiders promo, little video clip. So prepare yourselves. They're coming back. We had Sonya Deville backstage confronting Lyra Valkyria about the Zoey Stark match. I guess Natalya and Zelina Vega were not there. I guess they're doing PR or something else. Not sure why they're not there on a Monday night. But anyways, it was Lyra Valkyria by herself against Zoey Stark. And of course, Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, the Pure Fusion Collective were out there. Basic match. Crowd really didn't care about it too much. It's Zoey Stark. I hate to say it. They just do not get invested in her no matter how hard WWE tries. You had Lyra perhaps on the verge of winning. She was able to counter the Z360, but then Sonya and Shayna got on the apron. Lyra had the match won, and then Sonya Deville took a cheap shot with the referee distracted, and then Zoey Stark picked up the victory with the Z360. Then we had Katana Chance and Kaden Carter coming out there because the Pure Fusion Collective were going to beat down Lyra, but thankfully Lyra has a couple of friends. And we had the return of Carter and Chance, and I did not even realize that they were gone. That's how little I cared. Then backstage, Carter and Chance said the Pure Fusion Collective are going to have what's coming to them. But then Alba Fire and Isla Dawn showed up and said that the tag team titles belong to them because you had Carter and Chance saying they want to go for the tag titles, and that's not sitting well with Fire and Dawn. So we'll have to see that match at some point, whatever. We had a video package for the main event, the Last Monster Standing. Good stuff here. And then Adam Pearce was talking to security. The Hell in a Cell lowered. They actually brought out the Hell in a Cell. Adam Pearce was in the ring with the security. He said that CM Punk's war with Drew McIntyre will be over after Hell in a Cell. He said they're not allowed to touch on this show on Raw, but they can have one final shot in the War of Words. He brought out both guys. CM Punk was dressed all in white, which traditionally when that happens, somebody's getting color. Drew McIntyre came out complete opposite. He was dressed in all black. They had their words at each other. Drew McIntyre went first. He was wearing black out of respect to CM Punk's wife, AJ Lee. He said after Hell in a Cell, she'll probably leave him. And of course, he said Punk will be gone after Hell in a Cell. He brought up Roxanne Perez, how she met up with Punk and idolized him, but after meeting him in person, she soured on him. And he brought up how CM Punk taught him hate, and the hate will die with Punk at Hell in a Cell. Drew McIntyre got out of the ring, and then Punk had his response, said that McIntyre is nothing but a piece of garbage, and he's been living in a hotel for the past 4 weeks. CM Punk has. He's been staying away from home. He said he needs to be the boogeyman that all the critics think he is so we can send Drew McIntyre home, back to Scotland in a box. He said Drew McIntyre prayed for this to happen, and it did. And now, after Hell in a Cell, Drew McIntyre will be praying, but he'll be praying to CM Punk. And that was the segment. No blood. CM Punk was dressed in all white, and they did not do any color. I presume we're getting color on Saturday. They both essentially promised it, but yeah, very odd. I guess they wanted to go with the whole CM Punk in white, McIntyre in black, kind of like what Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker did for WrestleMania 25. It was a good segment. I wouldn't say it was top tier mic work from either guy, but it was good. It was a good segment. They brought down the cell to build intrigue. It was pretty solid. I did think it was good. Backstage, The Miz was confronting Braun Strowman, pissed off that Strowman interfered in his match last week. Then we had the return of R-Truth. And R-Truth said he was watching Raw. He saw Karrion Kross picking on The Miz. So he decided to get them a tag team match with AOP, which of course is AOP. And of course, The Miz, not too happy about this. Can you blame him? Next up, we had a 6-man tag team match. We had Judgment Day versus the LWO. LWO largely dominated this. They were doing their high-flying moves. Joaquin Wilde came off the top with a 450. And then they got all 3 members of Judgment Day in the corner. Del Toro did this top rope coast to coast. Went forever. JD McDonagh kicked out. Then the LWO did dives to the outside of the ring. And then Wilde was going to try to finish off McDonagh. But then Liv Morgan showed up. She got on the apron and Swerve, Finn Balor, knocked Wilde off the top rope. And then JD was able to take advantage. JD got the 1-2-3 victory. We had a commercial break. And then afterwards, Judgment Day was still celebrating. Finn Balor cut a promo, said they never needed Damian Priest. Liv Morgan got on the mic, and then Rhea Ripley showed up. She said she knows Dominik's dirty little secrets. She brought out the shark cage. She said that Dominik is extremely claustrophobic, and she vowed to win the championship from Liv Morgan that she never lost. And then at this point, Damian Priest attacked Judgment Day from behind. Rhea ran down and gave Liv Morgan a headbutt. Rhea then turned her attention to Dominik Mysterio, threw him into the shark cage, but then Liv Morgan was able to jump Rhea, and then the two of them brawled. Back in the ring, Damian Priest, outnumbered, could not keep his momentum. Finn Balor got the upper hand, and then Finn Balor took him down with the coup de grace, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Finn Balor gets the last laugh on Damian Priest, heading into Bad Blood. Now, what does that mean? Well, you have to tune in for predictions this coming Thursday night on the No DQ YouTube channel, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be doing our Bad Blood predictions. And I will give my thoughts on the whopping 6-match card, 5 or 6 match, whatever it is. They're not doing the longer cards. It's the Triple H era. It is what it is. I'm not necessarily complaining, but interesting what they decided to do with the world title. More on that shortly. We had a Sheamus video package, and he hyped up a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match against Pete Dunne, or as he likes to call him, Butch, for next week's Monday Night Raw, which will be a 2-hour show, by the way. Sami Zayn was backstage, and he vowed to not go away from world champion Gunther. More on that in a few moments. They aired a tribute video, or a little tribute. It was very brief. We got the news just a couple of hours ago, like right before Raw started. Sadly, Pete Rose has passed away. Baseball legend, WrestleMania celebrity, 3 WrestleMania appearances in a row, 3 times being attacked by Kane. Definitely one of the more interesting WrestleMania celebrity appearances. Rest in peace to Pete Rose. And WWE did acknowledge him, and they showed a couple of video clips from WrestleMania. We had a Damage Control promo. They're vowing to win back the tag team titles. I'll say this, at least WWE's trying to build up the women's tag division a little bit, but they still got some work to do for sure. We had Chad Gable versus Kofi Kingston. Pretty basic match here, but then it picked up towards the end. Chad Gable suplexed Kofi on the floor before the break, and then after the break, Kofi started to make his comeback. They traded near falls, like 6 or 7 near falls between the two of them, and then Chad was able to counter the tip, the Trouble in Paradise, with an ankle lock, but then he got sent into the corner. Kofi hit the SOS, but Gable was able to slip to the outside of the ring, and then the Creeds were taken out by Kofi. Xavier Woods was out there. He helped out, but then Kofi Kingston sent Chad Gable into the ropes, was going for the Trouble in Paradise, but Xavier tripped Chad Gable, and Kofi did not connect with the move. Miscommunication. Gable got up. Kofi was thrown off, and Gable hit the Chaos Theory and got the 1-2-3 victory. So the plot continues to thicken with the New Day potentially breaking up. I liked it. Good stuff with this angle, and I'm definitely intrigued to see where this goes. Backstage, maybe foreshadowing, maybe a clue. So they showed Seth Rollins, who was at some sporting event over the weekend. I'm not even sure what it was, but I don't really follow sports. But Rollins was at this event, and Bronson Reed was interviewed, and he said he hopes Seth Rollins comes back. He said he took years off of Rollins' career, or weeks off of his career, and if Rollins comes back, Reed vowed to take years off of his life. And he vowed to be the last man standing against Braun Strowman, and I guess it was Baltimore. Thank you guys for that. He was at a Baltimore football game. Couldn't tell you the name of the team. Ravens, I think. If I'm wrong, I don't watch sports, so oh well. We had the Wyatt 6 airing another VHS tape. In other words, we don't know what to do with these guys, so we're stalling for time. They had another QR code, another cryptic message. Don't force our hand, blah, blah, blah. I mean, to me, it's clear that they're just waiting to figure out something to do for these guys. Kind of losing interest, to be fair. Like they gotta do something here with the Wyatt 6 and get them in a meaningful storyline. The world champ, Gunther, came to the ring. And unfortunately, we got some sad breaking news. Apparently, Ilya Dragunov got injured over the weekend in a match with Gunther, and this went under the radar. Nobody was reporting this, but WWE revealed that he has a suspected torn ACL and is going to be out of action 6 to 9 months. That really sucks. I feel really bad for the guy coming back. Well, not coming back, but being drafted to Monday Night Raw and starting to build up some momentum, and now he's injured. Very unfortunate. Dragunov is definitely, as far as in-ring abilities, one of the best guys on the roster. And that's going to be a long time for him to be out. Gunther said he's tired of Sami Zayn. Zayn quickly came out there and wanted Gunther to admit the real reason why Gunther has been turning him down. Gunther said Zayn is not on his level, but then brought up WrestleMania, how he beat Gunther, and Gunther is scared it was going to happen again. And Gunther did admit it was the biggest embarrassment of his career. And Gunther said that unlike Zayn, he kept a low profile for his family. Gunther's family was there, but Gunther's father wanted to know why Gunther lost to the bum Sami Zayn. And Gunther said that unlike Zayn, he's the golden goose of his family. Zayn's family is used to Sami Zayn losing. And Zayn responded by saying that Gunther disappeared after WrestleMania, could not show his face, all because Gunther's father made him feel like a loser. And furthermore, Gunther has showed that his father, showed to his father that his son is also a coward. And this set off Gunther. When you make it personal, that changes everything. Gunther attacked Sami Zayn. Zayn was able to fight him off a bit, but then Gunther powerbombed him, got on the mic, and said that Sami Zayn does, in fact, have his match. And they did confirm, Gunther was interviewed backstage, and they confirmed that the world title match will not take place at Bad Blood. And it will also not take place at Crown Jewel, which is what I was thinking they were going to do. Instead, it's taking place on next week's Raw. I'm a little surprised, unless they plan on doing some sort of screwy finish. I'm wondering if they're going to do something, because Sami Zayn going for the title in Saudi Arabia seems like a strong idea. But they're doing it on next week's Raw, 2-hour show, world title match. We got an IC title match. We got a world title match. We got the good old-fashioned Donnybrook. I mean, they're definitely stacking up next week's show. We had AOP versus the Awesome Truth. R-Truth was in there, and right off the bat, he was doing John Cena's moves. He went for the AA after hitting the 5-knuckle shuffle, but could not get up the AOP guy. And then he made the hot tag to Miz, but Miz attacked R-Truth. He turned against him. Miz has officially turned heel. Felt like Miz turning was something that was inevitable. And Karrion Kross was at ringside. He was yelling things at Miz during the match. Miz turned against Truth. Kross was very happy. Miz ripped off the shirt, walked away, and then it was elementary for AOP. They pinned Truth with their finisher, the What a Rush. No more Awesome Truth. Miz has done quite a few turns over the years. Not as many as the Big Show, but he's definitely gone back and forth quite a bit. We had our main event of the evening. And by the way, I forgot to mention that when Gunther was backstage, Braun Breaker came up to him, and you had Gunther saying, Braun Breaker, he really is a badass. And Breaker said Gunther's going to find that out sooner than he thinks. They're already starting to tease Braun Breaker versus Gunther for the world title. Very interesting. Pretty much gives away that Sami Zayn's not winning the title. Just saying. You're already setting up the next feud. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It says, do you think R-Truth goes with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley? That's interesting. I actually find that to be entertaining. I mean, maybe this time Damian Priest will accept R-Truth and they can be friends. But, I mean, I don't know how much comedy you want in the Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley storyline right now. But, yeah, that could be entertaining. But we'll see what they do with The Miz and R-Truth in the meantime. And who knows how long that feud is going to last before they move on to something else. I mean, Truth just came back. I don't see him disappearing again. We had our main event, Battle of the Monsters, last monster standing. Braun Strowman versus Bronson Reed, and they went right after each other, and this was a great main event. This was quite the battle. And as D. Martin Fifth said, thank you, D. Martin Fifth, who sent in a $5 super chat, much appreciated, says, Braun versus Bronson is another prime example of the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. Absolutely. For a big man match, this was excellent. This was a great TV match. It was a brawl. They were fighting all over the place. Right away, Strowman choke slammed Reed through the announce table, and then after the break, they fought by the stage, and then they fought on top of this production crate. And Reed gave Strowman a DVD, a Death Valley Driver, off the crate through tables that were below. So that was a crazy move. Crowd was chanting, holy shit. It was getting censored, of course. And then we had another break, and Bronson Reed put Braun Strowman through the barricade, got him back in the ring, came off the top with multiple tsunamis, but the referee was checking things out on the outside of the ring. He was distracted, and Reed was pissed off about this. You had security out there. Adam Pearce showed up. Reed grabbed at Pearce, and security came in, and it was all chaotic. All these people on the outside. And then we had Strowman coming off the top with a crossbody onto everybody, onto the entire pile of people. Strowman then got Reed back in the ring, climbed up top, but Reed threw a chair at him and went for the superplex. And we've seen this before when the big men are up there for the superplex. And sure enough, he hit the superplex, and the ring broke. The ring broke. We've seen it with Big Show, Brock Lesnar, and Strowman several years ago. They did it here. Big crowd pop, but it wasn't over. All of a sudden, we had Seth Rollins. Remember, Reed had mentioned Rollins earlier. Reed had taken Rollins out several weeks ago. Seth Rollins showed up, got into the broken ring, and gave the curb stomp to Reed on the steel steps. And Reed was unable to make the 10 count, and Strowman did. So Braun Strowman picked up the victory over Bronson Reed. I was not expecting this finish. I figured Reed would win, but they used Seth Rollins as a way to help Strowman pick up the victory here. And now Bronson Reed will have to turn his attention to Seth freaking Rollins. That feud will resume. There you go. Braun Strowman wins. Hell of a match to close out the 3-hour era of Monday Night Raw. Overall, I think it was a very good show. I think there were some moments that dragged, but all in all, the main event very much delivered. You had some good promos and segments to set up Bad Blood. I give the show a B+. I think it was a very good Raw to end the 3-hour era. Now, having said that, I'm not going to miss the 3-hour Raws, at least for the time being. I'm looking forward to Raw going back to being a 2-hour show. It's just an easier watch. I can be done before 11 o'clock. I feel bad for some of the wrestlers that might get lost in the shuffle. To me, that's like the biggest negative because WWE's roster is so large right now, and ultimately some people are going to have less TV time. It's inevitable. I mean, I don't see them cutting the matches a whole lot shorter than they've been. I think they're still going to give the matches a good amount of TV time, which means ultimately some people are going to not have as much time. Just the way it's going to be for now. Anyways, I thought it was a strong show to wrap up the era. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I will be recapping NXT on the CW premiere, Tuesday night. I don't recap NXT too often, so make sure you guys tune in for that. That'll be 10:05 Eastern Time, Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, we have the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite, and I will be recapping that. We got Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. We got what was just announced, Bryan Danielson versus Okada. Special match for Dynamite. They're stacking up that show. I'll be recapping that. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we got predictions for Bad Blood. Friday, SmackDown. And then Saturday night, I'll be recapping Bad Blood probably around 9 o'clock because they're starting at 6. And it's, 5-6 matches? So, yeah, it'll be a nice early recap video on Saturday night. Tune in for all that. Thank you guys again. Say yes to NoDQ.com. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.